Welcome again to On the Bench. As always, each week we'll be examining the top sporting issues and events from around the region, as well as getting out and about to take an in-depth look into the people who are making a mark in the world of sport. Add to that, debate and opinion guided by our team of experts within the studio, and what we have is an action-filled show that packs more punch than a Ben Flower haymaker and fortunately stays on screen for 21 minutes longer than the Wiggins Rugby League prop. In tonight's show, we'll be talking to Lee Stevens, Grimsby Town's educational officer, who is looking to produce the next generation of footballers, as well as debating the current generation of footballers who, after Sunday's England game, appear to be able to choose if they want to play for their country if they're too tired. And with us to discuss this is our regular pundit, Tom Hardy. In addition, for the most extreme and adventurous of you, we've had our camera crew go out in the region to look into the world of airsofting. And we also have highlights from Hull Stingrays' latest match in the Elite Ice Hockey League. But before all of this, we'll begin by bringing you up to date with the latest scores from around the region in Team Talk. With Hull City not playing this weekend because of the international break, Scunthorpe United took the limelight in the region's football with their new manager Mark Robbins in the stand. And he didn't disappoint with an excellent 3-0 win away at Gillingham. Following suit, Grimsby Town also registered a 1-0 away win at promotion rivals Wrexham, with Linnell John Lewis taking the heat off under pressure manager Paul Hurst by converting a first half penalty in front of over 8,000 fans, and Lincoln also kept up that promotion push with a 2-0 home win against Telford. There were also good away wins for both North Ferriby United and Cleethorpes Town, with the latter being particularly impressive with a 5-1 victory. In rugby, there were wins for Sleaford, Nuneaton, Market Raisin and Lincoln, who registered a thumping 76-12 win against Mellish, whereas Cleethorpes and Tupton fought out a low-scoring 3-3 draw. In lacrosse, there was only one result over the last week, with Hull Lacrosse emerging victorious 20-11 against Ruthin. A 1-0 win for Grimsby on Saturday. Tom, did you see the game?
Yeah, I saw parts of the game, saw some of the highlights. Obviously, a really, really good result. Paul Hurst under a lot of pressure. To get a win away at Wrexham, who were a team who were going to be competing at the top, was a really good result, I thought.
Yeah, and Lee, just quickly on Grimsby Town's form this season?
I suppose the word inconsistent has to be in there somewhere, doesn't it? The town needs the football club to be doing well, and this year they've promised to go off on a run on a number of occasions and then taking a step back. So those of us that want to see the club do well are hoping that maybe Saturday is the start of the run that we're all looking forward to.
Fingers crossed. And just to explain your role a little bit at the club for us, Lee.
That's a long one. Basically, I work for the Sport and Education Trust, which was formerly known around town as Football in the Community, but over the last few years, the brief has diversified massively. I finished working at Grimsby Institute 4 years ago now. Sport was one of my areas. I'd always been involved with the football club. And Graham Roger, the trust manager, got in touch with me and said that our provision is away now, in addition to the old traditional holiday courses for young footballers. We're into education and community engagement. Would you like to come and have a part in that? And I've never looked back. So I suppose the biggest part of my job at the moment is with the NCS programme, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, so just explain a little bit how behavioural kind of psychological stuff can also impact in the footballing world as well, because we were talking about that before the show.
Yeah, I think we were relating it to the Ben Flower thing, weren't we? And the fact that I think research will show that in the first 2 or 3 minutes of a high pressure sport, normally more impact sports, if things don't go according to plan, then players are likely to react out of character, shall we say. And I don't think Ben Flower's got a history of being a dirty player. He's certainly an aggressive player, but I think what happened prior to the incident that everybody's talking about certainly contributed to his reaction. I'm not condoning it for 1 minute, but I think there was more to it than purely the 2 punches that Ben Flower threw at Lance O'Hire.
Yeah, definitely. And Tom, do you think that psychologically that can influence on Grimsby Town's season this year? Because, you know, obviously it's been up and down the last couple of seasons, promise of promotion and, you know, cup ties and things. Do you think the psychological effect is coming in this season?
Probably. I think the players are maybe feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit, you know, the expectations are high with the crowd. The fans of Grimsby expect the club to be back in the league, and the town needs it. The town needs it. The town's seen a demise over the past 5 or 10 years because of how the football club has been doing. I honestly think that has had such an impact. So psychologically, the players will be feeling nervous. They need to get back up, and hopefully this season they can do it.
Yeah. Lee, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think sadly, for the last couple of years, it's been as if the team plays better away from home because the pressure's off slightly. I mean, I go occasionally to away games. I went to the Halifax game 3 or 4 weeks ago, and fantastic following from Grimsby. I would think there were, not just short of 1,000 people there. The real solid supporters who will support the team through thick and thin. And they played Halifax off the pitch for a 1-1 draw, which is probably a contradiction. But I think the town wants to get behind them though. And as Tom just said, there are so many other things indirectly related to the football team being in the Football League in terms of funding that comes in not only through the football but other funding streams that are related to Football League status is a massive thing.
Yeah.
So we need to get back into the league as soon as we can. Definitely.
And just going back to your role as well, Lee, what kind of things do you do to help youngsters and things progress further in football?
The Sport and Education Trust's core business has always been, from the days when it was football in the community, to develop players from 5 and 6 years old in terms of their individual skills and the team tactics. We've obviously, in that respect, still providing that. We're now working skills. We were just discussing in the office today that the Trust does 30-odd school lunchtime clubs a week. They also do pre-school clubs, after-school clubs, what they call PPI sessions in schools when the teachers are doing the marking and prep and the Trust staff go in and do the PE lessons. So there's a lot of talent identification goes on through that mechanism. So obviously we've got a close link with the Youth Development Association and the School of Excellence. So you'd like to think that through the work that goes on with the holiday courses and in the schools, that if there are young players in the town that the club needs to be aware of, then our involvement there will transfer to the School of Excellence and hopefully to the first team and see young players, local players that you've got to aspire to play for your hometown club and want to do that. And I think through the work that we do in relation to the youth development, hopefully that will come to fruition.
Perfect, thank you very much for that. Moving on to something totally different, you'll have probably heard of paintballing. You may, however, not be aware of airsofting, which is becoming ever more popular across the region. We sent our camera crew down to East Coast Airsoft in Cleethorpes to find out more.
I'm the owner of East Coast Airsoft. Airsofting is quite a new sport to the UK. We've been around for a while now, however it's becoming larger in the UK. We give the opportunity to run a real simulation game of war scenarios. Airsofting is for 10 years and up with parental permission, anyone under the age of 18. Nerfing is for 6 years up with the same requirements. Airsofting is a real sport. It is recognised by the UK government and other sporting activity centres around the UK. We are coming up and now bringing big competitions into the world through different countries, not only just ourselves. People from all walks of life like to play airsoft. It allows anyone from any age upwards of our legal limits to enact with each other in scenarios friends, family and people from different areas. In Airsofting and Nerf alike, we have many different games, from head-to-head games, one-on-one, team building, CQB site, so everything close quarters, move around, different objectives, capture the flag, capture objective bases, removal of detonation devices and other things to bring in a real-life war simulation. Airsoft rounds to a bare skin will bring a small sting. However, we advise people when they come here have to be fully clothed, they can't have any skin showing, must cover all limbs. We do provide gloves and full face helmets. East Coast Airsoft is located in the North Promenade of Cleethorpes Seafront in the old Wonderland Market building. We're open every day through summer from 9 in the morning till 10 at night. Through winter hours we're open from 6 in the evening till 10 at night, all day on weekends.
If you want to find out any more about East Coast Airsoft, just search for them on Facebook. That's all we've got time for this half. Join us after the break for highlights of Hull Stingrays' match against Sheffield Steelers. Welcome back. It emerged after England's clash with Estonia on Sunday that Raheem Sterling asked manager Roy Hodgson if he could be dropped from the starting lineup because he was feeling tired. Tom, what do you make of this decision?
Disgraceful. It's a shambles. I mean, players are meant to be sort of representing the country. It's an honour. I don't think you'd have seen a Bobby Moore or a Bobby Charlton have you know, said they didn't want to play for the country. I think they'd have done it whether they felt tired or whether they were injured. They'd have played through it. And I think there are still players in the modern day that would do that. But I think the hold that the Premier League are having on the FA and managers like Brendan Rodgers, Alex Ferguson used to be the same. I don't think it's acceptable. It's not fair on the countries because we're not seeing the best of England. If Sterling's fit to play for England, he should be playing. He will play in Euro 2016, so we should see him in these qualifiers.
And do we know why he asked to be rested? What's the root of the question? You know, I mean, probably Brendan Rodgers. I think the political side of it with the management communication. But if it is the player, then I was thinking during the break, you know, do we go back to years and years ago when which is not allowed now through the PFA and the way that the young players are brought up through the apprenticeships. In the old days, the apprentices had to do the boot room jobs, and it was a harder upbringing. There were more. They valued the place in the team far more than I think these days. Players, certainly Sterling's he's a one-off, isn't he? He's unusual. He's an outstanding elite player, but he's like to the manner born, as opposed to earned that place.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Brendan Rodgers there. Is it the manager's decision to make that, or is it the players? Because it would appear it's been the players' decision this time. What do you reckon, Tom?
I think he's been told to.
What's the root
told
of
to do it. I think Brendan
Possibly
Rodgers has said, look, apparently Markovic he's got a knock. They've got a game against Real Madrid coming up. If Markovic is injured, that's another player in a position for Liverpool that they haven't got. I think Brendan Rodgers has given him a quick nudge and said, San Marino and Estonia, tell him you're not feeling great.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that at
I
all.
mean, Gary Lineker's actually come out and said, had he had the opportunity to maybe not play after the World Cup, perhaps, when he was playing, he maybe would have lasted a bit longer in his career. There's maybe an argument for that, Lee.
No, I don't think there is.
Okay. That's all that one.
I think from the average person on the street, male or female, that would love to play for their country at any level, in any sport, to hear something like that really detracts from the honour that it should be.
Well, that's it. It should be a prestigious thing to be able to.
Yeah, and I can see Lineker saying, looking back, maybe a rest would have been good after an intense period of when he was a little bit older. But how old's Sterling? 19 years
Hindsight's
old.
a wonderful thing, though, isn't
You'd
it?
be walking over hot coals to put your boots on and play for your country.
Yeah.
You should be.
Just quickly as well, Tom, talking about the Ben Flower situation as well, how do sports people get away with so much more than ordinary people like me and you would in the day-to-day life?
Well, I don't know, because if that had happened on the street, it'd have been cuffed and taken down to the station. So it's heat at the moment. It comes down to obviously the sport you're playing and the situation it's in. So
I think what's also happened is Mike from St Helens, and I've forgotten his second name, the CEO, went in the press today and said that if the Rugby League didn't handle it adequately, then they would consider taking civil action against Flowers. So
well, we'll see what happens with that one. Yeah. Continuing our theme of sports and physicality, it's time to go to the Hull Arena now, where it's fair to say things got a little heated on the ice.
So it'll be Mosienko and Lozon taking the opening face-off. It comes back the Stingrays' way, and we are underway. Challenge Cup action here at the Hull Arena on Hull Stingrays TV. Mosienko flips it forward. Phillips with the first shot on goal, saved, and a big rebound comes off David Brown. Forward tonight, he'll be a winger on this third line. Interesting to see how he makes that transition from forward to D. Puck is loose in the crease, and then it's played out. Shot again is saved. LeTulip, and finally forced in. And it's Jason Hewitt who got it. The Stingrays just couldn't get it clear or covered. Stingrays are in business here with Lark. Meyer in support. Lark shot, blocker save. And there's a penalty coming in. I think the Steelers are guilty of a slash. Oh, and then another big hit from Fretter on Lark. And Dominic Osman's gone piling in. And so has everybody else.
Fretter felt as he came across the goal he was infringed upon. He then showed good hustle in getting back, slashed him, at least adjudged by the referee to have slashed him. And then that was a big old hit into the boards. Lots of players taking offense to that. Machoua has also gone over to the bench, but it'll be Fretter who'll be in the most trouble at the moment.
Words exchanged between Matty Davis and Cullen Eddy on the bench. Dominic Osman is bent over and appears to be in some trouble. And Colton Fretter is gone. On out in front, and the backhand's gone in! The Stingrays have got themselves level through Jordan Mayer. Tanaka gets the Stingrays moving forward. The yellow swarm across the line, Towner shot. And the blocker save from Doyle. Towner falls over, that puck is trapped against the boards underneath Sam Towner. And we will get a stoppage in play. And now Forney on the line change, moves in and scores! And it's Mike Forney again. The opposition, whoever they are, can't keep Mike Forney off the score sheet. I'll go on a very short power play. Oh, what a goal! Eddie goes whoosh, ping, light. And it's a 3-1 Steelers lead. What a goal! What a shot from Cullen Eddy. Tulip trying to cut in front, Hay wouldn't let him. Nice hands from Lozon. Can he find room for a shot? Carl Lozon's going all the way. Saved, and the follow-up is in from Galbraith. And it's game on again here at the Hull Ice Arena.
It's just a nice bit of work, and it's a juicy rebound. Galbraith is there. I think it went 5-hole on Frankie Doyle. And he says, come on, boys, as he comes back to the bench. Now who's got the lead legs? Now who's got it going? Now who's got the momentum?
He goes down, and it's going to be a penalty. And it's going to go against Mark Thomas. And now some pushing and shoving, and the Steelers have done this to themselves a few times this season, giving up late penalties, and now the helmets are off and the punches are coming in between Turcotte and Roy, and now Eddie is going after Jan Turcotte, and Turcotte's fighting back. What a scrap this is against the boards. Eddie is going for it, so's Turcotte, and they'll both head to the box. The Steelers fans chant Eddie, Eddie, Eddie again, and it was the initial penalty from Thomas that started it. And what a finish we're getting to this game. And it looks as though Eddie could well be third man in, because that initial fight was Roy and Turcotte. And so Eddie has been kicked from the game. And he's gesturing to the fans and go wide. And there's almost no time left. Final 5 seconds. Oh, Mosienko with a great play to block it. And it's forward. And time expires. And the Sheffield Steelers are winners once again in the Challenge Cup against...
Thanks again to the Stingrays for sending in the footage. Moving on to look at the local papers. Tom, you picked up on Omar Pasha's comments about Hull's recent form.
I have, yeah. I've got the story in the Hull Daily Mail. Omar Pasha, the manager, he's talking about how the side have been affected by the injuries in the squad. They've got a lot of players that shouldn't actually be playing, apparently. It's just because they're that short on men. They didn't win 2 games over the weekend, so they lost both of those. I believe it's now 5 games that they've not won in, so they're in a bit of a sticky situation, to be honest.
Okay, so let's see how they get on for the rest of the season. And Lee, what have you picked
Yeah,
out?
I've got an article in the Grimsby Evening Telegraph looking at India Clyburn, who's just won the BMW Junior Golf Championship. And I just think it's fantastic for the North East Lincolnshire area that we've now got another Clyburn on the block, following in the footsteps of her sister Holly, who's flying in the Ladies European Tour. And add to that Sophie Walker, and you've got a little area like North East Lincolnshire with 3 golfers that are up there with the elite, and I think what a great achievement for the area of North East Lincolnshire. Well done, girls, keep it up.
There we go, brilliant. And just quickly as well, we've got Scunthorpe, got a new manager announced this week. So how do you think Mark Robbins is going to get on over there?
Well, he's going to have to get on a little bit better than Russ Wilcox did, but I didn't agree with the Wilcox sacking at all. I thought it was really bad, especially as he did so well last season and set a world record. I think that was disappointing to see him get sacked.
And just very quickly, Lee, you seem to have an opinion on that one. What do you reckon?
Just the fickleness of professional sport. You know, the guy comes in, everybody likes him locally, he beats the world record for undefeated games as a new manager, and then 13 games into the season. See you later, Russ.
Yeah, but
It's a
unfortunately that
tough
is
life.
professional football,
It's the nature of the
definitely.
business.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show, and thank you for your picking out your stories in the newspapers. That's about all we've got time for this week. Thanks very much to Lee Stevens for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
Remember, as always, if you want to get in touch with us in the studio, you can tweet us at On The Bench TV. Before we go, it's over to Tom for his reflection on the week's action. Take it away, Tom.
Thank you, Rach. So, firstly, football and England. A 5-0 win against Minnow San Marino, followed by a less than impressive 1-0 victory over Estonia. Certainly didn't get the Portuguese racing. But Roy Hodgson's men maintain their current run of good form with 3 wins out of 3 in Group E and no goals conceded so far. Staying with football and focusing on our local sides, Scunthorpe United parted company with manager Russ Wilcox last week, as we've just discussed, despite his heroics in the club's previous campaign. Caretaker boss Andy Dawson led the club to a 3-0 away win over Gillingham, but Mark Robbins has now been appointed as permanent manager. Elsewhere, Grimsby also claimed a huge 3 points after beating Wrexham 1-0 at the racecourse ground, Lionel John Lewis with the only goal of the game. In Formula 1, Lewis Hamilton won the Russian Grand Prix to extend his lead at the top of the individual drivers' standings as he edges ever closer to his 2nd World Championship. However, the race was overshadowed by the uncertainty surrounding fellow driver Jules Bianchi, who remains in a critical condition following his crash in Suzuka the week before.
Thanks, Tom. Join us again next week. Goodbye.